The shipping markets, volatility knocks. This is the subject of tonight's reporting after the closing of a very strange week all over the markets and the world politics. We have numerous times in the past stressed you the issue about the volatility and how this factor affects all the indexes and conversely the markets. As it happens, the Cape-size vessels were those with the highest volatility, nearly 1,000 points, 985 points. And this is an issue which of course really affects everything that we have to say. The dry markets are now 50% below the last closing of December 2013, which was at 2,227 points. So we are nearly 50% below this. It's the first time I said that we have 1,000 points on the index, the general index, and this is something for many to celebrate, for others like us to be cautious. This is our 31st overview of the markets and geopolitics. This Friday, the 15th of August 2014, the day of the dormition of the Virgin Mary and her resurrection before she went to heaven according to the Greek Orthodox religion. This is all about shipping with John FARACLAS from Athens. In the heat of Athens at 40 degrees more or less, a heat wave which we haven't seen for quite a while. The BDI closed up 73 points yesterday at 1,015 points, which is overall 238 points, as we said earlier on, since last week 777 points. That was the first time it went over the, as we said, the 1,000 point marks, and this is thanks to the BCI, which closed at 2,151 points, which is 269 points since yesterday, an amazing figure, which of course shows volatility, and 985 points, as I mentioned earlier, from last week's 1,166 points. This is 50% over. This is a great volatile figure. The BPI, the Baltic Panamax Index, was up 64 points since yesterday, and that's 179 points since last week's 803 points. 624 points. So it closed at 803, which is 179 points since last week 624 points. Let's just make it clear if you didn't hear the word. This is a very modest upturn. The BSI was also up 16 points, which is overall also 173 points since 73 points since last week's closing, and the BHI was just up 6 points since yesterday at 382 points, which is 19 points last week, 363 points. As you can see, the last two sizes, the indexes conversely, the BSI and the BHSI, have a modest upturn. Now, this of course is because of the rise in the Cape size and the Panamax size. The wets now are for a second week going below the previous week's results, with the BDI, the Baltic Dirty Triangle, stood at 748 points, which is 163 points down since last week's 811 points. Equally, the clean cargoes, the Baltic Clean Tanker Index, was also down at 549 points, which is 3 points since last week, 552 points. A continuous drop. Caution here for the wets. The container trade, which we haven't touched for a little while, was also down, and in particular the Asia to Europe trade was down as well. Now, there was geopolitical issues. Ukraine, we start with the big messy situation there. Since last week it continues to be worsened, and it will get uncontrollable soon. Nobody trusts no one there, and reports of violations from both sides are flying here and there. Wait and see what's going to happen. The Middle East now. The Middle East, to continue the Arab-Israeli conflict, of course we don't like to see just a ceasefire, we would like to see a permanent peace. If this is feasible, time will tell. We are very still cautious here. Both sides are extremely getting off. They cannot get in touch with the situation, and this will worsen the entire area and the periphery, to say so. On top of everything else, we've got the Iraqi issue, with European nations and of course under the blessing of America interested in arming the Iraqi Kurds. The big issue here is how Erdogan and his generals in Ankara will take this. Things will change, and it was about time, one way or another. Libya is also in a mess, and we have to be very careful here. So Libya, Syria, and Iraq, with the Islamic State, getting, exceptionally dangerous, if I may say so, will keep us, cautious all the time. And in our industry, this area is an area of cargoes to and fro, and we have to be very careful, not just for our ships, but above everything for our crew members. In the Far East, still a make or break situation, and we just had last week and the previous week the testing of North Korea there with the missiles, the short range missiles. Now this time the news came from Japan, where two cabinet ministers went to Yasukuni Shrine, angering neighboring South Korea and China. Prime Minister Abe couldn't go there, but he sent his ritual offering. So this is something which one cannot stop one nation's thinking, and you can see this. So in your country, you're doing what you like to do, or this angers your neighbors. That's another story. But again, things are changing rapidly also in the Far East, an area to be very, very cautious. Why to be very cautious? Because you don't know what's going to happen. It's an area which we have a great number of new buildings, and if the going gets tough, you know what's going to happen. So this is not a nice, it's a nasty situation. In Africa, as we said last week, the Ebola virus is making waves. It will take a long time to eradicate the situation. So these and natural disasters, we have to expect them. That's life. We must pay caution to what happens. Europe, as we said last week, really continues to be in a messy situation. Too many issues at stake here. In Greece, things must change, otherwise those who have embezzled the money with the local and international protégés have to be named and shamed, otherwise no change will happen in this country. So the scam now is well documented. We know dead well what is going on, from the locals who have embezzled the public and the money, and from the outsiders, the protégés who were involved. Don't forget, you need two in a tango. It's a very dangerous and delicate situation. It's about time things change. This is very, very important. Now, our seventh tip for holidays is that of Portugal, in Porto, where there, you can combine a bit of a Mediterranean situation and a bit of the Atlantic one, which is great. Is the Atlantic extravaganza in Portugal, great food, great wine, and spirits, of course. Vista in Cyprus event is coming up, and you can see in the respective login situation in our site the speakers, the panelists, and the themes. Very, very important event in Cyprus taking place between the 7th and the 8th of October. All the women of the world, 32 Vistas are going to be there. A great event at a great time. Now, two more events as we go well back into our business winter in London. We got the Athens Exchange's 9th annual roadshow in London at Bloomberg's on the 18th and 19th of September. And this will trigger the interest of many people. Yes, Greece is in the focus of everybody, and for sure, one way or another, those who are very much interested, they will take power in Greece, and via the stock exchange of Athens, things will change. It's the only means to improve the country is the Athens Stock Exchange. We repeat this, from locals and from foreigners that will come and invest there this time. Talking about Greece, there's a lot of discussion in the country's coastal services, and there are very many contradictory reports of what's going to happen after the end of these holidays with the coastal services, the ferry boats, the big debts. For those who haven't calculated on time the projectability of the rise of fuel and diesel in the ships, what's happened, the rise of tickets, and many, many issues. But it's not just to have modern ships, it's not just to have them in the stock exchange. it is to have the infrastructure, we repeat this, the infrastructure for the appropriate terminals to be on par with the technological advancements that these vessels have. This is very, very important. There's a big difference between a port and a terminal. Okay? There are vested interests, but the real vested interest is those of the Greek public for the winter and the summer, and for the summer for the 20+ million people, the majority of whom they are flying to the islands from the mainland and vice versa with the fast coastal service of Greece. Another event in London is Capital Link's September event, which comes out on the 23rd of September at One Moorgate Place. A great event which we have to do about the shipping, the marine services and offshore, and of course don't forget the one which takes place earlier in September, the 6th annual Capital Link event on global commodities, energy and freight forum at the Metropolitan Club in New York. You know, it's a very interesting event. This is the 6th event, and this is more than interesting. We finally believe that people should make some projections vis-à-vis the dire straits of the world. These are the canals, of course, which for very and many reasons will affect the trade. So, Panama Canal celebrating this year 100 years. We expect the opening very, very soon. And this is an important issue, as next door in Nicaragua, the Chinese are interested to have a new canal there and another one in Colombia. We heard last week that President Sisi of Egypt is interested to improve the Suez Canal, and these improvements, of course, they will greatly affect various sizes of the tonnage in the markets. So we have to be very cautious about this, and with this we wish you a nice long weekend. Enjoy it and be on guard for the events that happen around the world. This will greatly affect the interest. This is John FARACLAS from All About Shipping, from the heat of Athens, 41 degrees. Over and out.